5593B, and this is my reflective tech demo video demonstrating how I've set up my final year project within Unreal Engine 4. To begin with, I will just show you the inputs which I've used in this project. The design of it allows you to control the project with either a keyboard and mouse or a gamepad such as an Xbox 360 controller or a PlayStation 3 controller. So we have the standard inputs or action mappings with the jump and the crouch. Following on from there, I've added my own, the punch, kick, block, the vault, which has now actually been replaced with a trigger volume instead, a combo punch, a combo kick, and the character death. Basic locomotion setup is based around an idle walk-run 1D blend space, and then everything else goes off of here, such as the crouch, the vault, the corner peek, and the jump. At the beginning of the cycle is the death animation, and these four ones here with the way that I set up the inputs in the first place. These are now redundant and they've been replaced with a more efficient way of doing the animations through an animation montage. So onto the My Characters setup. It's just a simple case of a camera with a boom which follows the player around in a third person view. The capsule was resized appropriately to fit the character, and in terms of settings within the My Character setup, the only things which have been changed or modified is the maximum walk speed, which has been changed to 475. The crouch speed is set to 300 due to issues which I've been having with the playable character. If the value is set to any lower than 300, for example 250, the animation doesn't actually transition from the idle pose to the crouched cycle pose for some unknown reason. Other things which have been changed in this menu is that the can crouch box has been ticked, and following on from that we shall go through the event graph setup. Beginning with the movement inputs, fairly standard stuff. Controller rotation is based on the yaw, and then a couple of vectors which control the movement forwards and right, and this is the setup for the controller. Following on from there, the mouse input is just so that you can look around the character and see around the world. Following on from there, gamepad input, again, just set up so you can control it, so you can look around the world. With the right stick, a movement is controlled by the left stick. And then onto the other inputs which I've created myself. These are all based off input actions. We have the jump, which triggers the jump animation. The crouch is based off a simple flip-flop, so once you press in the left stick, the character will be crouched. Press it again and it'll be uncrouched, or C on the keyboard. In terms of the kicks and punches, again, if you press it, it will fire off this single kick montage. If you hold it down, it will continue to repeat the montage until you let go of the button, and that's applied to all of the montage setups which I now have in Engine. Over here's the kill switch, which is basically the back button on a controller, or L on the keyboard. If you press that, the is dead animation will play. It also disables the character movement completely. Previously it was set up so that you killed the character, but you could still move around the world as it played the death animation, which wasn't very good, hence why the disabled movement and set movement modes were set up within the event graph. Moving down to the blocking animation, it's set up the same as the montages. In this case on the controller, you hold down the left trigger and the blocking animation blends with the other animations such as the moving forward, running, walking, that kind of thing. And at the very bottom is just the UI widget control. Just adds it to the viewport and displays my student number as well as the logo for the project. Following on from there, we will go over to the animation blueprint, which is located here in the event graph. So over to the left hand side I have my old setups for the attacks. This was set up as a test more than anything, so they all have their own custom events such as single punch 1 2 3, single kick 1 2 3. They're all based around casting to the character. In this instance you had to hold down the button just to get the animation to complete. Obviously that isn't a very good solution, hence why this is now redundant, and I moved everything over to the animation montage setup, which is displayed here in the organized chaos. The basic setup is controlling the player movement, so blending from the idle to walk to run. There's also the jump setup, so it detects if the player is in the air. If it is, it will do the jump animations. If it's not, it will return back to the idle or movement animations. And also here at the bottom is the crouch setup. Moving on, everything in the montage system is based on casting to the character, the same as the previous setup, but in this case it then goes off into a sequence of 8 pins, and from there we split off into the montage controls. We shall go back to the vault later, as this is based off of the trigger volume instead of the montage now. So starting with the blocking montage setup, if it's blocking, then the branch will go over to the do once, and it will trigger the animation blueprint and the montage, which is controlled here. The montages are all set up in a similar way, so they all contain anim notifies, and that's how it triggers the next section of the montage. So if you hold down, for example in this case the blocking, if you hold down the left trigger, it will constantly keep on checking, is the player still blocking? If so, it will constantly loop the block, in this case block loop section of the montage, until you release the left trigger, and then it will switch to the next section, which in this case is block end. The same setup applies to the punching montages. Anim notify, if it's still doing the single punch, it will continually fire off the single punch loop until you release it, and then it will go to the single punch end. The only difference between these and, for example, the combo punch or combo kick setup is there are more than one anim notifies. So this one will fire constantly in combo punch 1, and then it will change to the final section if you release it before the completion of the first section. If you release it during the completion of the second anim notify, it will then go to the third one and end the animation that way. If we load up the animation blueprint for, let's go with combo kick, you can see how it's all set up here. So we have the combo kick start section, combo kick 1, combo kick 2, and then finally combo kick end, and then these sections are set up below. So it's combo kick start, then combo kick 1 and 2 are set to loop continuously until you release, in this case, the right trigger, and then it will fire off the combo kick end animation. The setup for the anim notifies, again, same as the combo punch, is still combo kick 1, is still combo kick 2, and the engine is just constantly checking for if the player has released the right trigger or not. Just for reference, there's the setup of the combo punch. Again, combo punch start, punch 1, punch 2, punch 3, and punch end. Set up in the same way as the kick. Punch start, 1 and 2 are looping constantly until the player releases the left trigger, and then it fires off 3, and then combo punch end. So that was an overview of how the animations are set up, both through the basic setup and with montages. With the vault animation and also the corner peak, which I added in, I approached this a different way than using the animation blueprints and a montage based system. For, in particular, the vault animation, I wanted it so that the player could simply approach the vaultable object, in this case just a pillar. As soon as they approach it, the vault animation will play automatically. So for this I created a blueprint, and it's a simple box with a billboard which acts as the trigger volume, and then again the animation casts to my character, calls the animation, and then plays it. Now with the vault animation, the way that it was set up originally, the player would approach the vault, it was all set up fine, the animation would play, but because of the way the movement is controlled in the animation blueprint, the player would hit this vault across and then be teleported back to the original location of the character. Obviously this is no good for the vault animation, so in the blueprint it was set up with a couple of vectors so that the player would actually teleport forward to the new location. So for example, if I just launch this project now, as you can see, you would approach this, then do the vault, and and the character is then teleported forwards rather than being sent back over here somewhere. Following on from the vault setup, I also went and set up a corner peeking animation. I felt this was a better way to approach it rather than using something like holding down a button press on the keyboard or controller. And again, I use a trigger volume, set up a simple box with some text runners and a billboard so that I can see it in engine. And then it's as soon as you enter this box, the animation is cast to the character. As soon as the player enters the billboard, the box it will be cast to the character, and as soon as they leave, they will return back to the standard animations, such as the idle pose or movement. So I'm currently controlling this with the Xbox One controller, so you can see the walk to run and back to idle poses. It's much nicer than with the keyboard. The block animation and the punches are set up so that you can still move around while doing these. It's set up to blend with the cat spine 001 bone in engine, which allows the legs to still move, but the blocking animation can play as well at the same time. Also, the player can do single punches while moving, and also the combo punch. It doesn't look quite right while blending with this bone, but if I blend it with the cat rig hub 001 instead of the spine one, the animation doesn't actually play correctly. For the kick setup, it's a little different. Combo kick, you can still rotate the player, but you can't actually move while firing off this animation. I felt that it was too unrealistic if the player could move while doing one of these kick animations. And then, other than that, there's one issue with the using the box for the vault animations. If you hit the vault, the trigger box come in the opposite direction, it will still fire off the animation and send you back in the opposite direction. Another issue is the corner peeking. Due to the way that it's set up, it doesn't exactly line up with the walls. Tried tweaking the size of the trigger volume, but didn't seem to make too much difference. It's based on the size of the capsule around the character, I believe. And this is just a little bit of a playground that I made, so the player can jump around and explore the different animations which are available. So that pretty much sums it up for my final year project. Thanks for listening.